Let's do a quick little sound check, see if you guys can hear me. A little bit far away, but all right. Yeah, it just on the test one, it sounded like it was a little far away. It's weird, like the microphone, like the software actually adjusts. So like after we talk for a while, it will kind of change it around and move it and things. So, all right. So happy Monday, everybody. Um, in the last little bit, we've seen quite a bit of craziness. It just was like, whoa, what happened? All right. With that being said, as far as today goes, it's kind of been mixed, right? There's been some ups, there's been some downs. There was a really funky open, and I think a lot of the open had more to do with. Oops, I forgot to hit the scanner buttons. It had more to do with kind of the Iran news this weekend, but very, very funky weekend. If you guys looked at some, for those of you that purchased the weekly newsletter, I appreciate it, guys. As you'll see, there was four. I forgot to put one of them up there. Lindo pointed that one out that I had missed that one, and I was like, "Oh, you're absolutely correct." It was on the list. Unfortunately, I was bouncing the baby at the time, and I just completely overshadowed putting that one up there. But he was absolutely right. It was one up there, and we added that up there. One of them went for a loss for I think 8 already. One of them was a no entry. One of them was a break even, and then two of them were winners, so it was another 60 on that one. So they're not working out bad. Like I said, I'm still waiting for another one of those 110 pip weekends, like we got back in December. But good first start. And for those of you that did actually purchase it, and he pointed out that I misplaced a number on the Aussie yen, I appreciate that as well. Yes, you are absolutely correct. It was 76, not 73. I had the wrong ones written down there. Most of you were able to pick the zone out, which is awesome. That means that you guys are learning. All right. So we're good. And anything else, like I said, guys, I always open things up with the group first before I push it anywhere externally whatsoever. The reason I do that is because, again, you guys have been with me from the very beginning, and it's always great to like have, a small group that I can test things out with. So it's always good for that one. And like I said, I said it on the forums, nobody written back to me though. If there's anything else that you think could also be beneficial that I could put inside of a weekly newsletter, I'm more than willing to do it. I mean, I've thrown a couple different ideas in there. I don't really want to go down the signals route. It's just not something that I enjoy doing. It's pretty time constrictive. Like I said, the Sunday night gaps, it's something that I have to be there at 5, and I will, put those out and again get those out as soon as I possibly can within like the first 15 minutes of the open. Everything else I can kind of do ahead of time at the end of the week on Friday or Saturday, so it's not a big deal. But I want to try to put as much into that as possible. I want it to be something that's useful. There's so many different free newsletters out there, and it's like all it is like a summary of like the last week, and it's like nothing. It's like, okay, it looks like it's a great email, but there's really absolutely no knowledge in this email whatsoever. I wanted to make sure it was substance that you guys would have that you could go into the next week with. Again, giving you the weekly trend states, giving you high quality cement, supply and demand levels, And somebody asked, those levels are actually based off of 4 hour or 1 hour. I'm sorry, 4 hour or daily zones. It depends on where the 4 hour zones are inside of the curve, and I kind of combine that with the curve. I know many of you asked questions about that. And then the curve is kind of like an idea of what the weekly kind of tendencies are. Vanessa's like, well, where to use this? And basically, it's not something that you're going to use as a, okay, it's high on the curve. I'm trading at this. I'm low. I'm going to trade it here. What it does is it gives a tendency. When things are high in a curve, they tend to be at the upper end of their ranges and tend to turn, and they're more likely to turn and flip back to the downside. And things low in the curve, the exact opposite. Those are things that tend to go long. Now, can things stay in the low end and push the lows and the highs? Sure. Sure, they absolutely can do that. When you have things like all-time highs, obviously you're at the upper end of the curve and you're waiting for some type of a pullback. But it just is one of those things. It's like it increases the odds in your favor because you will have pullbacks at the top and rallies at the bottom. So it's just another one of those things to increase the probabilities, increase the odds in your favor. All right, a bunch of chat just came up all at one time. I think it was a little delayed there. Let's see. Yeah, the Iran thing that was pretty crazy. Wait, what is that? Held a message for reason identity. Allow it to post. Can you pin the newsletter? Oh, okay. I guess there's an auto mod in here. And Q, it did not like you asking to pin a message. What do you want me to do? I had a link before, but it's not on my laptop. Oh, the link for. Yeah. Where is it? I will put it up in. Let's see. Here. I'll post it here and then I'll put it on Discord as well. This is not going to be the permanent link. Oh, you know what? I just do this one. Copy. This is not going to be the permanent link. Eventually, I will be changing this back over to the KTS site. That would be the there, and yes, I train in a gi. When I train, I haven't trained in like a month and a half. I trained in August or in December and hurt my ankle again. So I've kind of like just chilled with it. But yeah, there's the link. That's the easy one. Right, and like the website takes you to like Brian's school. Again, that's just what it's labeled with Thinkific. The whole website will be. I'm gonna switch the whole thing over there. I really like what they can do in there. Currently, you guys know it's on ClickFunnels right now. I'm using their membership site function, but I kind of like the way that Thinkific does it because I can actually set specific quizzes and things like that. And there's more things that I can do there. It's more of an education-based site versus, oh, here's a membership site where you get access. And it's easier to see the other classes, and I like the flow of it a lot better. So I'm going to switch it off of ClickFunnels and bring it over there. I just think it integrates in better and it gives me more education tools. Like I said, I need to focus more on the education component of it and make it the best experience we possibly can. So that's what I'm doing. It's going to be switching over there in February sometime. But yeah, that's the goal. I think a chart situation / scenario quiz would be cool. Yeah, that'll be in the actual courses, Rhyme. So it has a big quiz section that I can put video in, and I can put it in easier. So there was basically limited functions, or I had to use external resources that I had to pay for ClickFunnels. This one actually has them all incorporated in, where I can actually have quiz functions and exams, and you can actually link accreditation places, accreditation, however you say that, um, into that one as well. So it definitely gives a lot more like, I'll show you, like here. I'll bring this up here so you guys can see it real quick. Up top, you should be able to see it. These are actually all the different functions. So there's videos, there's quizzes, there's multimedia I can include, text, I can put downloads in here, audio, I can put different homeworks like assignments. I'm pretty excited about the assignments piece. Exams, I can put PDFs in there. I can put surveys in there, which quizzes and surveys are a bit different. I'm kind of excited to see the survey thing as well. And then also different type of presentations. So I can link them directly in without having to put external media, which is videos and multimedia. So like I said, it's giving me a bunch more options in here that like I said, that I don't currently have access to. So I thought that would be a cool way to do it. Okay. Oh, you guys can't see it. It was cut off of there. Hold on. Let me bring that back up again. I'm like, oh, you're seeing the main thing, but you're not seeing the other piece. Oh, shrink. There we go. There, this is what I was pointing to. I was like, wait, why are you not able to see that? Like, oh, I can see it now. So this is what I was pointing to. I don't know if I make this bigger. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so these are the different things. Again, the assignments, the surveys, the quizzes, then the exams. So there's more functions here, as well as I can do direct downloads, audio presentations, regular PowerPoints. I can just upload them and actually teach inside of here, as well as texts I can do, and then obviously just video and multimedia is a little bit different. But again, the quizzes, the surveys, the PDFs, and the downloads in here naturally make this a bit little easier. Okay, so that's kind of why I'm going to be switching across. To, again, make the best out of it. All right. There we go. Assignments. Yes. Assignments for mentees that never turn them in. Yes, exactly, Ryan. Those things. um, yeah, it's going to be different things. Yeah, I mean, again, there'll be a lot of different things in there. But yeah, I want to, like I said, there are plenty of educators out there. As you guys know, I pour my heart into this whole thing. And I want to make sure that not only am I holding you guys accountable, but that you're getting the absolute most that you possibly can from the education. And yeah, I know. Yeah, I saw that it was in. That's okay. You guys never turn anything in on time because I send Ernest things and he opens them. I have to like, hey, you got a package? He's like, oh, I do. Let me go check. Ernest is he's so balling right now. He doesn't even check his own mail. So, and James, you should have a package arriving soon as well. If you guys actually answer things. And Vanessa, you sent something and it's in my wife's car. I don't have it yet. It's in my wife's car. It was delivered and she picked it up so it didn't get left outside and it got left in her car. So I do have a package from you. She said I got something from Vanessa. So I'll open it out on tomorrow. I'm excited to see what that is. We appreciate you, man, too. And by the way, guys, if you guys saw on the newsletter, I gave props to Linda because he made sure that he pointed out that I forgot to put the pound yen up there, which he was absolutely correct. I did forget to put it out. It was like, oh god, I forgot to put that up. I had that on the list. Um, you have to open it. Well, of course I'm going to open it. Why would you? Why would I? If I get a piece of mail from somebody, unless it's ticking, I'm absolutely going to open it up. I'm just going to say right now, if it's you went to Jamaica, so if it has anything to do with like Jamaican rubs or jerk sauce or anything like that, I'm all over because I love that stuff. When I went to Jamaica, that was my favorite part. I found a place that did this jerk chicken, and like I went there every day for lunch. I couldn't help it. It was like, man, it's so good. He's like, you want the guy ended up giving me the recipe. He's like, yeah. He's like, these are all made, they're all family recipes and stuff. But he's like, you've been real cool. And, he's like, you've been here every day. Obviously, you love this stuff. So he actually gave me the recipe. He printed it out for me and gave it to me. Now, I haven't been able to, like, I haven't made it here, obviously. I can't find the peppers and stuff, but, as easy. There are places that I can go to get them, just not close. But yeah, I always said I was going to make it, but I was afraid it wouldn't be as good. After that, I just want to know, does the package smell like sage? Because if it smells like sage, then I know Ernest had something to do with it. Blue Mountain Coffee. Yeah, mason jar with an apple icon on it. Great. Yeah. New rubber marinade, he'll open it. Yeah, if it's a new rubber marinade, I'll absolutely try it. I'm all over that kind of stuff now. You guys know it. Yep. I can be bought through my stomach. Yep. And I actually have to send Eva's hoodie out. I told her if she helped me last week, I would. How did you guys like Eva's session, by the way? I listened to some part of it, but the baby didn't want to sit still long enough for it. So I listened to part of it, just for Ernest to throw me under the bus with the pound yen. I just happened to be in there, and he's like, "Yeah, Brian likes that crazy pound yen," and I heard what Eva said about it. It's okay, Ernest. Used to love you, and now you're just throwing me under the bus. Throw me under the bus. It's okay. What would you guys think of that session? Not that Eva's in trouble or anything. I mean, I got bits and pieces. I missed it. I had to decay or something. Oh, oxtail is the greatest food. Awesome. I'll be glad. James, you're from Texas. I don't know if you're gonna get that kind of speed, man. Like, I feel like no. Very good. She always does. Yeah, she's great. Yeah, I like Eva a lot. The part that I heard she sounded a little tired. I know 7 o'clock is like kind of her bedtime. It's a little bit past her bedtime, but yeah, the goal is to get her on a little bit more often if we can. I don't know if I told you guys or not. I did try to talk her into doing a London Open one, and she said she'll work up to it. She's not quite confident she can trade and teach at the same time, but but it's a goal. That's what I love, James. That's what I love. All right, so let's dive into things. I decided tonight that I'm going to mix things up a little bit. We're going to do our normal analysis of news scanner, and then we're going to dive into charts. But tonight I'm going to see how long it takes us to do using MT4. I'm going to use the pairs. A lot of you are in the combine now, or in the kind of testing phase for the funded accounts. So I figured I would go over and show you kind of how I have it set up for that section. It's on purple. So I figured you guys can see the indicators at work, ask questions. Like I said, Ernest has it. He's given me a little bit of feedback. I figured out anything that you send to Ernest is not going to come back instantaneously. So he has the indicator. He has one of them. He has the trend state one, which actually I have another trend state one as well, but I'm not sure. I'm kind of torn. They're both a little bit different, but I do have the error trend state one also, or have access to it. Although it's very, very hard to. I've tried to install it and I can't get it to function fully, so that's a major problem. But you're unable to get it installed easy. This one is much easier to install. It's one file. But yes, I have not sent him the funds, the supply and demand one yet. She has all kinds of rocket noise in the background. Yeah. Oh, because she lives. Yeah, I think because she lives in an old house. I think it has like you know, that like old school heating. I think that's why she had that noise. Back smoking meats. She trades wacky hours. Who, Ernest? Yeah. I don't know, man. Ernest, he has his entire like channel. It's great. All right, so looking for the day, guys. As you can see, euro dollar's up a little bit, but over the last 60 minutes, it's obviously been coming back down with dollar strength. Pound is the exact opposite. We had pound weakness mostly for the day, and then again in the last little bit, we've had a little bit of green, but really not too much. Again, that one it's basically that one's that's dollar strength coming back into the market. You're seeing that one there. Now, dollar yen, 45 pips, but most of that is very, very recent. It's up again, obviously not in the last 60 minutes, but not really surprised by that one. I kind of expected that one. Although I will say, based off of this kind of bit of news right here, that U.S. is to lift China, currency manipulator tag ahead of trade, I don't like this at all. This to me, I feel like this is them caving in to get a deal for politics. I don't think they should do this. I disagree with this wholeheartedly. I do believe China is still a currency manipulator. I don't think anybody questions that, and I think we're lifting it to get a deal done. And I think this is the wrong thing to do. Okay. If they are truly opened up and there's no pegging, and it's a completely 100% free market, then they can remove the tag. But I think this is a show of weakness right here. So not really happy about this UF to lift China currency manipulator tag ahead of trade deal. Like I said, I bet you this is part of the provision in there. It will make a deal, but you got to lift this. And they're like, yeah, whatever, it's not a big deal. And I think it is. So, yeah, I mean, all currency is manipulated, but China is still trying to claim this third world status with so many different things. And now after they made such big drama about how even China stayed in the environmental accords, and then they found out that all that was a lie, that China is, it was fake. They didn't do any of it, and it was all wrong. They do absolutely manipulate their currencies, and they're trying to be a bully and claim this, entitlement. I feel like the way the Chinese economy is, it's like the millennial, right? So yeah, not super happy about that. But anyway, that's probably why we saw some movement. As you see, that the dollar Swiss is actually down a bit. Again, this is Swiss strength, but you see most of that is in really, I mean, a majority of this move is in the last 60 minutes. CAD mix is only 6 in 24 hours, so really not much movement there. There was no news today really to support the CAD. Aussie dollar, again, down only 20 pips, and a little chunk of that is in the last 15 minutes, kind of eating away at that one. Euro pound, again, on this case, you see some euro strength, some pound weakness. It's up 42. It's quite a move. I was watching this one yesterday, and there's kind of a little interesting setup on that one. And then pound yen, you're seeing green, red, green, green. So it's only 7. But again, this one has kind of been back and forth, up and down, left and right in the last 24 hours. Again, GDP for them was bad. It was expected to come in at 0, and it came in as a negative number. And previously, it was positive. So that's not the best thing for them, as well as the manufacturing production is also lower than expected. So again, also not good for the pound. And again, that's why you're seeing this euro pound currency pair, obviously in the green to the top side. So with that being said, one of the things down here, there was a mention of Brexit. Where is it? Where is it? I was just reading a second ago. Oh, you know what? Maybe it refreshed on me. Basically saying that, with Brexit passing, big hurdles, took 3.5 years, but we're finally past that next step. Again, talked about some of the uncertainty and kind of, kind of a new beginning or whatever for the pound. So I did think that was pretty interesting. All right. It's up there if you want to look at it. Is that sent through the IMF? Need proof. I mean, everybody manipulates currency, whether you do it with kind of fair practice ways or not. All right. So going into, let's see what we got coming up. So tomorrow, early morning, not early morning, but 8:30 in the morning, we had CPI and core CPI tomorrow for the dollar. Previous was 0.3, so this is actually the CPI is supposed to be lower, and core is on. Okay, now in this case, you can see that there are misses with CPI, and obviously last time it was forecast. Previously it was higher, and then they forecast it lower, and it wasn't quite as bad. I'm actually kind of expecting this one to come in tomorrow right on, so I don't think this is going to be too big of a mover, and you guys can see here the core doesn't really miss too often. So I do believe this one is not going to be a big miss tomorrow. I don't think it'll change too much. If anything, I think it'll be negative. It'll come in as 0.1. I don't think it'll come in at the 0.3. I just don't. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that this one's going to be on tomorrow. I don't see a big miss, so I'm not expecting too much out of this one. I think it'll just be kind of business as usual tomorrow. Really, unless we hear anything kind of like geopolitical news-wise, I just don't see too much in here moving the markets. I don't think tomorrow will be an absolute kind of rocket ship day unless there is some type of earth-shattering breaking news, which right now it doesn't look like there's going to be. But we'll see what we have inside of the charts. Okay. Now, looking at the scanner is pretty interesting right now. Okay, you guys are seeing a lot of boxes in here, right? So there's a lot of different things showing setups right now. Particularly, look at the CAD basket. Everything on the 4-hour right now is showing with the Canadian dollar is showing some type of a setup, meaning we have a bit of a pullback in the direction that was going in. Again, no CAD news, right? No CAD news. But there was a lot of reaction because with Iran admitting that they did shoot the thing down, everybody's waiting for a Canadian response and yada, yada, yada. So that could be leading to some of this. You're also seeing more or less some type of a similar pullback, excuse me, inside of the yen, inside of the pound. All right, so looking at the majors over here, you can see the CAD is sideways up, confirmed. All right, basically meaning we're looking for some type of a pullback. And you're also seeing uptrend setup, uptrend setup. So, I mean, looking at the CAD, it's like, whoa, there's a lot going on. Now, it's only moved 6 pips in 24 hours, but that could potentially be leading into what we have tomorrow, okay? Oops. Dang, but it's only the 10. So we're going to check that one out. Obviously, dollar yen. Ernest is like, I'm so tired of this pair. Yeah, sideways up confirmed, up set up, up set up. So again, this one is moving straight to the top side. Pretty interesting, right? This one is continuing to drive higher. And again, with this Chinese news and basically the yen getting slammed, okay, I'm not surprised that this one is going higher and it's confirmed on the daily. Swiss, again, the Swiss is a little bit weird right now because it's, the Iran situation is kind of, I don't know, kind of fuzzing out, right? I mean, we haven't really heard much more. Obviously they admitted to that they did it. I kind of said that from the very beginning as soon as I heard it. It explains why Trump is very, very timid in his kind of messaging, right? I was kind of like, that was the weirdest messaging I've ever heard. And now we know why, because he already knew the answer ahead of time. Yeah, so we'll see what comes from that. I'm sure there's going to be some type of international reaction, more so than we've gotten at this point. Saying, oops, it was human error just doesn't do it justice. Because technically speaking, I mean, I feel right now that Canada should shoot some missiles back at Iran. I'm just saying. One guy got killed and they had to shoot missiles and cause a lot of drama. You know, they shot a missile, killed 67 people. I feel like Canada has the right to do something. Okay. Feel like more's coming, so we'll see. Looking at the dollar, the pound dollar. Okay, down setup on the euro. Again, this is the dollar strength coming back into the market. They're both downtrends, and obviously the dollar's pulling it back a little bit. So we'll see what we have there. I forget which one it was, but this was starting to approach demand zone. So got to be a bit cautious when there's a setup to the downside, yet it's in an area of demand. So watch out for that one. Aussie, New Zealand, again, those guys are nothing. They're there. They're downtrend setups on the 4 hour and the 1 hour. So again, there is some smaller time plays that you can take advantage of in there. And there were some setups that weren't too bad. Looking at the Euro basket. So Euro basket, you can see Euro CAD. We were moving down, and again, this is that CAD weakness that we're talking about, right? This thing is in an anchor break to the top side, so it's not necessarily Euro strength, but it's moving. And then again, uptrend setup on the 4 hour and the 1 hour. So again, this is showing that we have Euro strength coming in. Euro yen, kind of the same thing, only instead of the anchor break, this is the sideways up confirmed, same as the Euro New Zealand. So again, a little bit of a pullback on the lower time frames, but again, pushing higher. Okay. And again, this one I believe is approaching supply. I remember kind of saying, hey, listen, a lot of these are in the same area. Euro pound up, set up, and then sideways down confirmed. So again, the lower time frames are showing us and confirming that they are pulling back. The next signal we're looking for is an anchor break on the 4 hour. And when this goes anchor break here, it's definitely a short signal to the downside. And that will be kind of, you'll start to see these two kind of flip-flap back and forth, especially if this one is retracing back down for pound strength, which I think is what we're going to get. Euro dollar, we already talked about. Euro Aussie, pretty similar, right? Downtrend setup. And again, it's an uptrend setup. So again, it's starting to consolidate back and forth. It's just giving us a downtrend signal on the 4 hour. Euro Swiss, kind of the same situation. Euro Swiss was actually something that I was looking at. Let's see, I had this up. That's Euro Pound. Where is Euro Swiss? Right here. Yeah, this is one of the ones that I had up. And again, this one had a big drawdown and a big pop back up again a couple hours ago. Kind of interesting how this one played out. This is one of the ones I believe that we had set for the gap. It was actually not a bad little gap, but then it just pushed right through, went up to a higher demand zone, and then collapsed back down again. You know, it had the move, but it was one of those things that I didn't necessarily love. It gapped right into a demand zone, so I should have been careful. And it was kind of one of those ones like, eh. And I'll show it to you guys. When we go over to that one, I'll make sure I cover that one. You guys can see what I was looking at. And after I put it up there and looked back at it, I was like, you know what? I probably shouldn't have put that one up there. That was my error, and I was kind of rushing it, and unfortunately didn't do a great job on that one. But you guys will see why I shouldn't have taken it when we get to that chart. All right. That's Euro Swiss. Looking at the CAD basket, as I mentioned before, the CAD one is all over the place. Here's that CAD yen. Look at that, sideways up confirmed, uptrend setup, uptrend setup. But, you know, according to Ernest, that's not a good one. We shouldn't look at that one because, you know, he had to try to tell me, be like, hey, he likes that CAD yen thing over there. Yeah, the Iranian people are rioting too. I know, right? We kill their people, they demand justice, and then they riot because they killed other people. Supposedly that guy actually at home wasn't the most popular guy either, so I don't know. I think there's going to be lots of problems over there still. Anchor break on EuroCAD. We'll touch on that one. Like I said, nothing inside of this CAD kind of pairs is crazy. That I'm like, oh, we got to trade that right now. Looking at the Aussie pairs. Okay, so the Aussie pair is very interesting. Aussie yen, and we know what's going on. The yen is just getting slammed right now. That's what's giving us this anchor break to the top side. But you can see the Aussie, for the most part, is showing weakness across the board, except for Swiss, where it's in an uptrend setup. Okay, and again, Swiss also an Iran-based pair. Not base, but Iran-affected pair, right? So these three would not, and they all kind of in the similar situations, whether it be against the CAD, the dollar, or New Zealand. You're seeing sideways down, downtrend setups, and then again, these anchor breaks showing that they are down. So again, we're seeing Aussie weakness basically across the board. Got to get a little more tea. All right, so that's what we have. We have Aussie weakness, so mark that one off. And then looking at the pound, kind of a similar situation, although again, it's downtrend setups on the CAD, the New Zealand, the dollar, and the Swiss. In the two versus the yen, obviously we know the yen's going to be up, and versus the Aussie again, which is showing me that the Aussie is definitely the weaker of the two pairs. Yen is being close, or the pound is being, is right behind it. Now, interesting enough, you are seeing the pullbacks for these. We're going to check these out, see if these are in demand zones. It's always great when you see a setup and like, yes, But you always have to go back to the chart and check it out to make sure that we are not near an area of supply or demand because, again, a downtrend setup into an area of demand is a no-no. We don't trade it. I mean, it's great that it's there, but we don't trade it. Again, can it break the zone? Sure, absolutely. And then what we're looking to do is look for a continuation pattern, that Harry Potter trade to the downside or upside. But again, trying to time the bottom in a downtrend setup into an area of like a high quality area of demand or supply, those are kind of no-nos. Those are ones that we don't really want to kind of put ourselves at risk for, okay? Go back in there. You wanted to come out. You flew around. Hold on. One bird wanted to come out, and the other one was like making tons of noise. So we'll see. All right, so that's what we have sitting on the scanner. Like I said, the scanner is very, very helpful, and I'll show you why, because there's a lot of pairs to look at. This gives you kind of a quick brief. And again, remember, this is kind of the overnight settings. The daily ones, if you guys have the scanner, is 3 hour, 30 minute, and 5 minute. Okay, that's what we're looking to do. Like shorting the potential brick wall. Yeah. Well, I mean, shorting. Yeah, right. Shorting the brick. Yeah, not the best thing, right? All right. So, like I said, that's where we switch these 3 hour, 30 minute, 5 minute. When you're doing this during the day, these are the overnight setup. All right. So, with that being said, let's start off with. I'm going to start off with the Aussie pairs. Let's see if this is sized correctly. I may have to make some adjustments here when we go over to the chart section. All right, so let's get this out here so you guys can start looking at some charts. So first things first, let's start with the Aussie dollar. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to start this on the larger time frames to get you guys a little bit bigger of a picture. So as you can see right now, you know, like I said, they're showing there's a lot of demand down here. I had to switch these two time frames back so I got the data. Where we are right now, we're basically, you know, we're talking about this kind of sideways movement, right? We are kind of not engulfed, but we are sideways down. And again, a little bit of a pullback. So it is giving us a downtrend setup situation right now. But looking back, there's not really any great basically demand above it. You guys are seeing uptrend setup here, but this is where that break came from. Here's kind of an area right here that if price can move up into that area, I'd be willing to, you know, to take this one short. Nice little base right here before it kind of tanked. It's a little wick over wick. It's right at the top. It gave us 4 green candles to the downside, and we haven't quite gotten up into that area yet. It has pulled back already. So again, if we drive a little bit higher, it's going to be a fresh area. Price has not hit that area. And the amount of risk you're taking in there is not really huge. You're only talking about 16 to 18 pips. So not horrible. And again, that's on the 4 hour. Jumping down and looking at the 30 minute, because again, if we're in a downtrend setup, that's really what we want to focus on a bit more. This is kind of what we're saying right here. And again, you guys can see when we jump down here, it's showing us now that we are in a downtrend setup situation, right? Again, we pulled the trend state by understanding the candles, and now it's telling us what our trend state actually is. So this is kind of the area up top. Is there something smaller? Yes, there's actually an area right here on the 30 minute. So again, we know we're in there. We know that this top area is clean. You guys can see this here. And again, it's a pretty big area. There is a smaller level here, and this is only about 4 pips, so it's a much smaller area. Price has respected it. It came up and tested the area. Hold on. The bird doesn't want to leave the cage. It's going to be the noisy bird now. And then I'll open the cage. The other one will fly out, and this one will just be quiet. So there is a smaller area that we have sitting there. Again, a couple places you could take this one. I mean, we could probably shrink this one up. Whoops. Probably shrink this one up a bit. Let's see. Pips is about there. See, here's the dilemma. So you have an area here. It's about 5 pips. Again, it's a nice little base to the side. It did have really nice movement off, right? You obviously have this little area here, but this is one of those cases where, although it's showing us there's an area of sellers, I would actually take this a bit higher. I would probably move this area up into this region. I think that's a better zone instead of this one right here. So I wouldn't use that one, but there would be one area for me, and I'd probably have to mark up this one as another one. So depending on the level of risk that you wanted to take on this one, like I said, 4 is very, very small. It went into this area. It has tested it a little bit. This area for me, if you're looking at this little basing, I really wouldn't take it. Now, if you're going to take this small one here, again, there's been a ton of these small ones. You guys can see that there's a 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio that you're looking for. So if price is able to come back into that area at some point, like I said, it's kind of pushed away at this point. That's where you're looking. Your 3-to-1 and your 5-to-1 would be sitting at this level. Targets on this one, again, if you're not going to take your 3-to-1s, obviously this demand zone right here, you want to make sure that you are out of this trade by the 68.77 range, if that makes sense. Okay, but again, it's looking for orders. There's nothing really clean. Again, if you want to be super aggressive, yes, you could actually move this down. And if you really wanted to take it, although it's not horrible, but you could take it something along those lines there. The last time price was up in that range. That would be 69.03 your proximal and 69.07 as your distal zones. And again, this is your first one here, is your first at 3-to-1. And you like that so much. I wish I could get it at different colors. That's what we got for the Aussie. Like I said, downtrend setup situation, looking for orders. You can see how this one changes. The anchor is on actually the prior trend. So, all right, so let's jump across to this guy. All right, so as you guys can see, we'll bring it up on the 4-hour. All kinds of little trade setup in here. This one is sitting inside of, we just actually passed that up. We were in a downtrend setup and it looks like it went up and grabbed some orders. So we'll jump that one down here and you guys can see, I think there was actually, let's see. Well, anyway, we were in a downtrend setup. So if you were pulling back, you would have been able to grab from this zone if you really wanted to. There was a couple different trade setups over in here, as you guys can see. 5-minute trades, I believe. The one thing I don't like about this is you got to create little. This is why. This is the entry. All right, so actually, you know what? Let me leave this one. Let me explain this one. So this is another thing that we should have taken. If you did not take it, this is one of those trade setups that here is a level right now. Again, it was marked off. It's not going to stay this color. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off. I'm going to shut off the supply and demand real quick. That. So you guys can see it's the same area. Here's your gap. Okay, remember I talk about this on Fridays? Where the gap starts matters. Okay. Audio is cutting out for you too. How about probably now? I moved the microphone. Sorry. When I turned to the side, I ended up bumping the microphone. You should hear me much better now. Anyway, where we start after the gap matters. In this case, you guys can see that it had it marked off in the supply and demand area. When I was looking at this, I was like, oh, we're so close. But again, you were able to take this and it was a small trade. Here was your risk level. The gap opened here, and what did it do? It retraced all the way back to the gap, and that's what we typically play. Again, a lot of the gap plays, we will say, hey, listen, when it hits the gap, you're going to use that as an area. But in this case, it gapped into a demand zone. All right, enough. Seriously, stop. I don't know why she's so loud tonight. Here, you want to come out again? You were quiet when you were out. Come on. Come on. Here. Here, stand up here. Here. No? Okay. Man. Oh, now you're going to fly everywhere. Okay, sit up there. I guess you wanted to come out. Anyway, this one opened up right inside of a demand zone, in which case that's a signal for us to buy. So there was this little run up, and you guys can see from this area, it's about 15 pips on this one. And again, you guys can see, I drew this here so you can see it when I turned it off because it does get a little bit busy. But this was not a bad supply and demand zone trade based off of a gap on Sunday. It ended up going all the way up and actually hit the 5-to-1. So if you rode it all the way up past the gap, about 25, 26 pips. I honestly don't know what their problem is tonight. They've been quiet all day. And actually, the one that was making the noise that wanted to come out, I took her out, and now she's... Come here. Come on. Come on. Let's see if I can get the other one out. Come on. I gave you more sunflower seeds. Did you eat them all? I don't know. I just gave them some before we started. They're junkies. It's like, oh, that sunflower seed's not good enough. I honestly don't know. Here, guys. You have water. Here, you want some more seeds? There. I don't know. It's kind of like, oh, you're talking. Well, we want to sing too. Anyway, so that's the setup on this one. Where we are right now, I'll put back the indicator on that one. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna have to add it again. That'll be a pain. But anyway, we'll be done with this one in a second. So again, looking at this one in the 4 hour, you guys can see we are approaching a level up here. Again, price really kind of bounced off of this zone. It spent a lot of time there. It did have lower lows in here. And again, nice little kind of pop out of that area. That's kind of where we are now. We've pulled back and now we're getting a little bit of a pullback to the downside. And again, areas that you're going to want to watch out for will drop to the lower time frame. Again, you're still going to have to watch out this zone down here at 103.83. Okay. You know what? Maybe I'll just put them to sleep. Come on, guys. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. This doesn't really work for my birds, but my wife's family birds, they put the lid, like they put the sheet over them. They're like instantly they go out. I guess. I don't know. What's the problem today? They're like super loud. Anyway, that's where we are with this one. All right, let's switch back. Let's go over to Aussie yen. That's the 4 hour, just so you guys know. It's a little bit crazy. So here's where we are right now. All right, you guys can see we're definitely approaching this higher level worth of zones. And again, we had these things marked off before. These were different areas. Today, again, price went up, came back down, and really didn't move around much. Again, this is the 30-minute. As you guys can see, this is kind of what we dealt with. Okay, so again, looking back again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just basically chop sideways. Now, it did break through the zone, which is nice, okay? This was a pretty nice kind of easy recognizable zone right here. And again, that's where we kind of came into Friday, right? In this area. Right here was our Friday close. And the question was, would we have gapped down here or what we have done? And we ended up kind of going sideways and pushing through the top. So right now, at least in a 4 hour perspective for me, I'm not focused on this area as much. Okay, I'm looking at this zone up top. And again, a little bit funky of a zone. I would actually break this zone into 2 levels. Okay, one, again, I'd be focused on this kind of top section here. And where I would draw this is really kind of up in this zone over here at the 76.35, 76.34 area. That's the last time it was really tested. You can see it kind of pulling up. Old zones canceled. How to do this one. There's different functions down here. Oh, there we go. So what I would do is I would focus on this level here as one, and then I would focus on, if you want something a little bit more aggressive, that level right there. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm using the bottom of this green wick here. It dropped, it went sideways. This has that descending candle pattern that I like, and again, price went back up to it. So those are kind of the 2 zones that we're looking for me on this top side. Again, upper end of the curve, 76.12 to 76.24 would be the first one. Again, that's a little bit more on the aggressive side, and as you can see inside of the box, that is kind of the first entry target on that one, right? That's right at the very, very bottom here. And then this top one would be the other one that I talked about, the 76.35 through 76.53, okay? And again, those are 2 custom zones that are drawn in there for you. But again, that one burst, which is kind of a good thing from the weekend, all right? Targets to the downside, again, one target that I'd be looking for right off the bat would be most likely in this area. We spent quite a lot of time basing here. This was a prior level where price came back up and then dropped away from it. Again, on the 4 hour, that's a decent amount of time, right? We based a lot and then popped. So that target would be 75.09. And again, I'm using the candle bodies. You could round that down a little bit if you wanted to, but I think 75.09, 76.11, somewhere in there, that's the very, very top of that kind of the average top of the bodies in there, would be any type of target for me for the downside. There was one little pop here, but for the most part, anything that turns from here, I mean, if this continues to push red to the downside, I do think we probably will move all the way back into this area here. And you're looking at, that's about a 60 pip mover right there, about 63 pips. If we break the bottom of that candle, yeah, it's about 67 pips to the downside in that range, okay? As far as where we could go to. So again, that would be something, something you could potentially target. And again, you guys can see the yen craziness. That's on the 4 hour. On the 30-minute, you guys can see it's still kind of drawn. Kind of the same idea, right? I mean, a little zone here, it's been tested slightly. That shows there are some buyers, but it's not a very big zone. You're talking about 7 pips, So nothing too crazy, nothing too exciting. You can see how close we came to those upper zones up top. All right. So it definitely shows we have some sellers above. Now, looking at Aussie CAD. Okay, so Aussie CAD on the 4-hour right here, kind of the same situation. We have a downtrend setup right now, right? The action candle, right, is the anchor is outside of the prior. It's not engulfed. It's to the downside. Again, we are pulling back. So the question is, are we able to find any type of sellers? Okay, now it's given us sideways. It's a downtrend setup. Okay, here it's given us a lot of junk. Okay, actually it's showing correctly here. It's on the lower time frame. I forgot that the other one is actually pulling it off the daily. Now it's giving us the right one. So it is giving us a downtrend setup. Interesting setup on this one because we have this little zone here, okay? But again, we have higher low, I'm sorry, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. So the question is, where do you get into this one with a good level of risk? So you could potentially put your first one here. I'm going to like that candle formation. There was a nice little burst off of that one. That may not be a bad little entry. That zone right there is, what are we talking here? About 6-7 pips. So that may be a good entry, right? Again, downtrend setup. It's pulling back. It's grabbing a zone. You know, if you wanted to pull the fib tool in this one, you know, you guys could pull, you know, something along those lines, which would put our first prior, you know, our first target for that 3-to-1 would be right here, which is actually not a bad place, right? That would be the test down here, the low, and the second one would be right here, which would put us right. Now we think we're parrots. Would put us right into this wick over wick. So I'd like it was in front of the wick over wick. It's a little bit into the wick over wick, so not the end of the world. But that's where we'd be looking for this kind of setup off of this area here. Okay. All right. There we go. Something on those lines. If we can get back up into that area without it kind of putting a new low. If we do break below this number down here at, what was it, 89.93, okay, then again, this would invalidate this setup to the downside because it's putting in lower highs, okay? All right, so that's what we have going on with this guy. Let's look across and look at Aussie Swiss. So, I mean, I can look on the 30-minute and say, okay, we are in a downtrend confirmed situation. Looking over here on the 4-hour, okay, you guys can see that we end up hitting here. So it's kind of giving a mixed signal, right? Because we end up running into it first here, and this is showing us that we're in an uptrend. But again, we're starting to rotate. We're starting to turn. Don't necessarily love this one as much. It did bounce off a nice little area on the 4-hour. You guys can see right here, this area of green. We dung it and it went right back down. And actually, I think this one was that one didn't get pulled. I thought that one got pulled, but it didn't. Okay. So looking on the 30-minute for the Aussie Swiss, don't really love too much. Again, you guys can see there's a bunch up top. I do not like this zone. Okay, a lot of people will say, hey, that's a drop-based drop, right? I don't like this one. The second green candle is actually higher than the first one, so not necessarily a fan of that. I do like this first little zone here, and this first little zone is only about 7 pips risk. It is at the upper end of the curve, right? If we're looking back to, you know, nice area of supply and nice area of demand on the lows, kind of what's on the chart, it is high side. So it is up here. I do like it. It is a nice little pop down. It did give a nice little burst to the downside. I always can tell when it's jumping around. It's not moving. So that's not necessarily a bad little spot right down here. All right. And again, that was from today. So we'll see what it does on the top side. I don't really like any of the other pieces in here. For me right now, there's really nothing else besides that. Downside, again, would I trade anything to the downside? This is really the first little area, right? This little pop. None of the small patterns in here really excite me too much for this one, particularly with a pair like this. And again, spread's low. It's only a 1 pip spread, but really top and bottom of the two that I'm looking for right now. Nothing else really exciting in this one. And again, it's not giving us a setup confirmation. I know a lot of you guys don't trade this one, but I'm getting more and more into this pair. The more I watch it, like I said, Sunday's a little bit funky because the spread's 8, and then by Monday morning it's down to like 1 or 2. So as you can see in this one, this is on a daily. So we're sitting inside a daily demand right now. Looking on the 4-hour, okay, you can kind of see a similar situation, right? It's showing that we're in an uptrend setup but again, we're sitting again. It's an uptrend setup right now on the 4-hour and the daily. Looking at the daily, you can see yes. We have pushed higher, and then it pulled back again. So again, the green is outside the prior red, and it does hit this green over here. So it has given us a green, a red, and a green, showing us that we are flipping inside of a daily zone. Okay, dropping down to the 4-hour, again, that's showing us that we have that downtrend setup. And then looking over across here, you can see that's kind of the situation where we're at. Now, it did spike a little bit below before it pulled back up again. Again, I would refine the zone slightly, and here's why. Okay, so it's drawing it based off the move off of this red candle, but the zone is really, again, if you're going to base it off of a zone, there's really where the zone is. Okay, and here's why I'd be a little bit cautious about the zone. This first test of it went 95% of the way, 99% of the way through that zone, so I didn't really have a whole lot of I didn't have a whole lot of confidence that that was going to be able to hold there. For me, I'm looking for this one to go a little bit lower. Okay, and again, I'm looking at something along those lines. And again, you could wait till it goes all the way to the bottom, but if you wanted to be a little bit more aggressive with this pair, I like this zone better. And again, whether you can trade this pair or not, again, this is still a learning experience. Yes, this you could say, hey, listen, there's a big bit of movement right off of that, but yes, you got to look to the left. Did it bounce off something? And yes, it did. It bounced off this zone level here. Okay, and again, because it pierced so deeply, wouldn't expect it to hold, and it didn't. So it did exactly what it was supposed to do. So we'll see. Again, if it turns and runs here, then obviously it invalidates the trade. It's not something we want to take, but that's where we'll be looking at this one on a lower time frame. Okay. Now, that is the Australian pairs. Let's jump over the Canadian pairs. There's only 2 Canadian pairs that we need to worry about. First one being the CAD Yen, which Ernest obviously hates. As you guys can see on the 4-hour right now, we are driving higher. Looking on the daily, we are driving higher. Now, we are sitting inside of this really, really funky candle over here. I'm not a fan of this. It's too much wick. There's way more wick than there is body. Now, as you can see, that was kind of a retest reaction off of this prior zone. But because, again, it drove all the way to the end of the zone is invalidated for me. There's nothing we can do with it. Okay, so for me, I'm looking at this upper zone here. Okay, that zone is located up right now around what, 85, 84. Okay, to 86.24. So a little bit bigger on the daily. That's the first time we have a really high quality, great zone that I'd be willing to take a short off of. Looking at the 4-hour, it's kind of a similar situation. It's been so long, right? It's been a long time. We can't even see where we really have anything good, right? This area here, which is not bad, but that's going to be a retest. It's going to be a retest of this situation. So for me on CAD Yen, I'm just going to wait. Like I said, I'll play this one into news. I just don't really see too much more in this one that I really like. But I do really, really like this daily zone. If you guys haven't marked that daily zone off, again, that is a nice little kind of pop-up. You could adjust it slightly, but this is actually a smaller kind of increment in here. So not bad, okay? I like that one. That's one. And then the next one for me would be up in this range right here, okay? Actually, it would be next zone above would be 87.02 to 87.45 would be the next one I'd be looking for above. This is actually a retest. It had the movement that it needed, but again, it's a retest and it grazed the top of this zone. So I'd much rather take the one that it's proven to me have been good. All right. All right, so that is CAD Yen. CAD Swiss is another one. CAD Swiss, again, this one has been bouncing around even with the drama earlier today. You guys can see that it kind of popped down into this zone and actually raced back up again. It's moved, what, a whole 10 pips? It hasn't moved too much, right? But again, this is one of those ones that was giving us a downtrend setup situation into an area of demand. So this was a no-no, right? There was really not a whole lot to trade on this one. And even on the 4-hour, you guys can see it's kind of it's been going back and forth. It's been trying to push this lower level, and it's kind of wedged in between the two. Again, downtrend setup, but we have an area of demand sitting right below it. So it's not really in a setup situation for us. So it's best just to kind of walk past this one and not necessarily trade it. It's not necessarily clean and not too much there. Going across and looking at the Swiss pairs, the only thing you'll see is a Swiss yen, not something a lot of us trade. Again, looking at this one on the 4-hour, you can see that we're way, way, way up here. Going back to a daily, you can see it's been a long time, right? Long time since we've really been back over to here, all right? We are approaching a demand zone. That demand zone is starting, a supply zone. It's starting at 114.11. We got a bit to go, right? We got about, 80 pips before we get up there. The daily ATR on this one is only 68. So it's got at least a day, maybe even 2 days before we get up into that zone. Nothing necessarily clean on that one. And again, we are uptrend, uptrend confirmed, waiting for either a pullback or we hit that zone. So again, that's all we have going for the Swiss. Let's jump down. Actually, I can just leave this one full on that. Euro. So there's a bunch of these Euro pairs. And again, I still think it loads faster than IG. File this one is out. Okay, Euro Aussie. So Euro Aussie right now, you guys can see we're not in a trend state. It's in an uptrend confirmed situation, right, on the 4 hour. This is what we got going on, right? We do have a little bit of a pullback. We are in a, it says a downtrend setup, but this is a pretty big kind of pullback, right? On the daily. Okay, we can go up to the daily, and if you guys want to look at it, yeah, you guys can see it here, right? We have the red, the green, the red, and then the green is pulling back. So yes, it is definitely inside of a downtrend setup right now. It did bounce right off a level up here, right? Obviously, you guys can see it. It's marked off. It hasn't broken through the top. It's hit 3 times. The next time it comes up, this will disappear on itself. We do have a setting inside of the indicator that says after a zone is hit 3 times, remove it, okay? But you guys can see it did bounce off, came all the way up, spiked up into a hit. We are in a downtrend setup. Profit targets on this one, obviously, on anything would be down here at the 159.70. But again, dropping into the slower time frame, you guys can see what we're looking for if you're trying to get into a zone. Now, it is in a little bit of an area here, although we went pretty deep into that area. Not necessarily the best. I think I'd probably put something here. I'd probably use this area as a better kind of place to get into it. I like the reaction more than this just little kind of a hiccup. And again, this one, if you're going to set up the supply and demand bit of this one, I mean, there's a 3-to-1, right? Not a bad placement. Here's why. This is really right where this started to get a lot of momentum to the top side. And this, if you look to the left, is right where the gap is, meaning that we are probably going to have buyers that step into the market in this area, right below where this 5-to-1 is. So your 3-to-1 risk to reward target would be here at 161.11. And then number 2, the number, basically the 5-to-1 risk to reward ratio trade would be 1.658. And again, that's right before the gap. Okay. Actually, I can remove. Let's move this over. Actually, this. Let's do it off of this. Something along those lines. All right. Yeah, you probably can't. I don't know if can you see it. I don't have it. It's not doing the top of it. There probably is a watermark somewhere. I don't think it's in here. There may be. Not that you guys can't. It's up here. I don't know if you guys can, if you have it full screen or not. It's Euro Aussie. I know what you're talking about. If you want like the big one, I'll see if I can find one just to make it a little bit easier for you guys. But yeah, I forgot you can't really see the text. Yeah, this is Euro Aussie. I'll make sure I tell you guys what it is, and then I'll see if I can find a better watermark for you. I'll figure out a way to. Yeah. So yeah, this is Euro Aussie. You definitely can't see it. Yeah, it's in the top left. Yeah, I mean, if you have it full screen, you could probably see it, but like on a laptop, you're not going to be able to see it. That's the problem. Also, down here at the bottom, if you guys look over here, you guys see down here at the bottom where the mouse is, you guys can see the tab that it's on. But again, it's not like the tab is huge. This is one of the problems with it too. Okay, but that's what we have going on with Euro Aussie. Next, going into Euro CAD. Okay, Euro CAD, as you can see, is in an uptrend setup, but it's in an uptrend setup sitting in an area of supply, which means it is a no-no. Okay, so looking on the 4-hour, you can kind of see where we're at. Okay, this is kind of the same situation. All right, birds. All right, guys, give me 1 minute here real quick. I'm going to put the birds out in the hallway because they're just driving me nuts. Hold on 1 second. All right, we're back. My God, they just wouldn't stop. It's like put in the meter. I have a cat. Yeah, the birds are
Yeah, you put the cat seeing the birds attack the cat. That's all right. In 5 minutes, they'll be making noise in the hallway. My wife will come and yell at me like, "Why'd you put him in the hallway? You woke up the baby." Yeah, they just wouldn't stop. And there is somewhat of noise canceling in here, but it's loud for me, but you guys can't hear it as bad. But yeah, my God, super, super loud. I don't know what's going on with them tonight. It's like, man, did my kid slip him some candy or something or what? My God. All right, so again, EuroCAD. You guys can see right now looking at this, you guys can see there's definitely an area of supply right here. So, although it is an uptrend, obviously uptrend setup on the other pair or the other frame, not the best area. I'd say we were necessarily high on this curve, this little trending sideways. So, if anything, I'd be looking to short this one. Getting an entry is going to be a little bit difficult, though. Again, dropping it down to this time frame, you guys can see there's a lot in here, right? A lot of stuff moving, and you can see that's kind of what we're in right now. We're sitting in an area. I don't necessarily love it, and again, it's a little bit big. Let me remove this zone. Okay. Dropping down to 30-minute, you can see we are sitting inside of an area of supply on the lower time frame as well. So everything in here says sell, not buy, although we are in an uptrend. Again, uptrend setup into an area of supply. Be very, very cautious about that one. But again, if you were going to take some type of a short off this position, you'd be looking at something along those lines. Whoops. Right there. Okay. Now, as far as profit targets go on this one, not too bad. The 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio set up for this one would be just below where this kind of little peak is right here. Actually, not a bad little profit target. And again, your 5-to-1 would be down here right when we get into, again, these wicks. I don't know if you can see it or not. It'd be right inside of this area, which again, double wick, which means that it's not necessarily as strong. So again, not really a bad place. Obviously, something turned them both around, but not a bad little kind of not a bad little setup in there if you're looking for a reversal. Now remember, this one is a counter trend trade, okay, right? Because it is giving us an uptrend setup. It is showing us that it's an uptrend confirmed. It's a 30-minute, 4-hour uptrend setup on the EuroCAD, but again, in an area of supply, right? All right, shrink that guy. Let's look at Euro Swiss. So Euro Swiss right now, looking at this one on a 4-hour, you can see again, it's saying we're in an uptrend. Again, that would be on the daily. It's a lot of chop, so I wouldn't really put much into this signal right now whatsoever. For me, it's really there's nothing in here that I love about this one. It's just been too long. Nothing's even remotely close, even on the 4-hour, and even on the daily. You can see the first really good level is all the way back here at the gap. Okay, right now we're into kind of where the gap went to. So I mean, we're sitting inside of a little bit of a zone right now, and that's the chop that you're seeing is right here. Okay, but after this, there's nothing to stop us from going all the way back down to that gap, right? You guys can see that. And that gap area starts down here at 107.11 to 106.72. So really nothing for me until we're able to get back down to that gap, and then it's a long signal, okay? Euro pound. So this is what we're dealing with Euro pound. We were sitting very, very close to this top side, okay? Looking at this on the 4-hour, you can see we were kind of flaunting with all these, lower highs in here, this kind of turn and this flip. Here was the clean area up top, and we were unable to get to that. And then it started basing very, very fast on the 4-hour. And again, we were close. I was looking for shorts up here. We did not quite get to it, and it's starting to flip. Looking on the 30-minute, you can see we're sitting right here in somewhat of an area. Now, would this have been a trade? Could you have gotten into this trade now? Question is, no. Okay. There was its marked off zone, and again, way too big of a zone. It kind of went back and forth into the zone. Nothing great. And then again, this is kind of what we're dealing with inside of this area. Okay. So, with that being said, is there enough movement? Is there enough space in there to be able to take this trade? Let's see. Only about 4 or 5 pips risk. So it is a very, very small trade there. And then to the downside, there is 16. So there is kind of enough, although I do think it will retrace back down again. And I think when it hits this bottom zone, I think it's going to collapse. It's pushed very, very deeply in this zone. It's already twice. I don't know how much it'll hold. And again, it's drawn here based off of this movement, but it doesn't take into consideration the 2 spikes down here in the original zone. So I think this zone is probably toast at this point. What I'd be looking for in this is more kind of falling back to the downside as dollar strength or as pound strength comes back into the market. Look for a very, very clean level of basing, something that we can trade off of, and then wait for a pullback to that area. So right now, don't really like it. Too much sideways movement, not enough strength. And again, we are boxed in between, highs and lows at this point. There's just not. I don't think there's enough meat in this one right now for us. But again, I do think this. I'm more bearish on this pair than anything else. Looking at Euro Yen. Yeah. So Euro Yen is just kind of flying. Looking at this one on the daily, you can see looking to the left, we're getting back into kind of this area where we had a spike here. So again, it invalidates this. This spike invalidates this. We have a bit of a gap here. So this is probably the first clean area for me on this one. And again, you guys can see even on the daily, there was the gap. This came up and tested and started all this. So at least on a daily level, there's nothing clean until we get up to 124.25 to 124.63. Looking at a 4-hour, again, super, super close to a zone. Okay, the indicator is actually marked off a zone where we're close to. Let's go back and look at where that is. Yeah, that's one of those ones where the body's super tiny and it was just a spike up and down. I'd probably go even farther back. Let's see. Yeah, too much, very, very wicky in this pair, unfortunately. Even on the 4-hour, look at the amount of wicks in this one. So although this is a zone, it's a very poor zone. Again, the body is so tiny, I would disregard that one. Wait for this one to kind of make its own flip, and then again, we'll start looking for better trading positions for this guy. All right, but again, nice little kind of trade down here. You guys can see zone formed here, came and retested and bounced all the way up, and this was a pretty good runner. Okay, 230 pips on that one on the 4-hour. 30-minute, again, just building up on itself. The only one that was not bad was this one right here. Right, it drove into this little bit of a gap area and then kind of launched itself. So don't really love much on this one. Again, this is a love-hate relationship pair. Euro New Zealand, again, looking at this one on the daily, you guys can see where we're at. We did just come off an area of demand and price came back down, didn't make it fully, and is now stuck inside of this drama, right? This kind of drop, basing drop, single wick against the wall 2 times in a row, flat back and forth, and you guys can see pretty unproductive right now. Drop into the 4-hour. You can kind of see the same situation. We have a little bit of an area. We missed the retest entry on it. It did come back up again. Nice bounce. It triggered the the indicator to draw from that zone, which again, fair zone. Looking to the left, there's nothing there. Again, it did come back up, retest. Didn't make it on the way back up again. Okay. Looking to the left, again, this spike invalidates this zone here. Bit of a zone here, and again, that's off of this basing. I would say this is not horrible. Just because again we had this green, or we had a red, we had a green push that didn't go quite as high, and then again we had this really big fall away. So that's probably a valid zone if you guys want to mark it off. Again, 169.63 to 169.95 on the Euro New Zealand. Looking at Euro Dollar. Okay, so Euro Dollar you can see is very, very sideways on the 30-minute. Looking at this one on the daily, you can see what it just bounced off of. Okay, it did bounce off of a demand zone. Actually, it bounced in both directions. This green candle, you guys can't see it right here, but this first green candle, I'll zoom in a little bit more. This green candle formed it. It came down, it pulled back up, had a failure to go higher, grabbed the orders, and then continued to push all the way back down. Ran all the way down in this green candle right here, back to the start of the move. Again, nice little parabolic retracement move, big spike up, retrace back down again. And now we're kind of seeing, what we can do with it next. It has pulled back, and we are in a wick over wick on the daily. So it's not necessarily a zone that I would have been going long off of. This was a target zone because it was the completion of this failure to go higher. Looking at it on a 4-hour, we're running into this little area of supply right here. This down, retrace, and down. That's what we're running into. Okay, that's what's causing these problems. And again, for 12 hours of really no movement. Let's see, we got on 30-minute. 30 minutes just flat. We got nothing. So again, looking to the left, go to the high, look farther to the left. You can see that we're running into an area here. And then again, lower high, 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 lower high. So again, we're running into a lot of areas of supply above where we currently are. So nothing really great that I love about this one. I'd like to see some type of a news miss, get a little bit of a spike, get us some movement in this one again, and we'll go from there. Euro Singapore, again, you guys can see that this one, again, on the daily, there was a setup. It came down, new spike in, and then collapsed all the way back away. You guys can see here was those 2 peaks again, that failure to go higher. Nothing really on the 4-hour that I love. It is in a downtrend setup right now. We are kind of pulling into an area where there are some orders, although that's not really a pretty kind of zone to pull from. I like that zone in here. You guys can see we're in a downtrend setup. There was a downtrend setup right here, and you guys can see it pulled back to grab orders down, but not super. Again, we're in another one to the downside. They were not in a downtrend setup on this one. That's from this, the 4-hour daily. Yeah, I don't like the zones in this one right now. I don't think any of these zones are really screaming that, yep, there's a lot of orders here. So yeah, we'll skip this one. Let's drop down to the pound. We'll start off with pound yen. So pound yen had a couple things. Here was the gap play, right? The gap came down and ended up breaking through the 3-to-1 risk reward ratio trade. Then if we pulled back up again, this one had another trade set up. And again, doesn't matter now, but you guys can see here. When I go back to this time frame here, you guys will see it created a zone off of this lower gap test. Okay. Okay, so this is another one of those situations where we had a downtrend set up on the 1 hour and 4 hour. You can see it pulled back up. We were looking for an area to get into, and there was our area right above. The indicator turned off right here because of the time change on it. But again, you guys can see we were looking for a zone. The only zone that we had marked, and again, I'll click back to here. There's no zone. You guys see where this goes? Boom. There was our entry. Again, small zone. There was our exit. It didn't make it to 5-to-1, but it went above the 3-to-1 before the spike up again. So two different trade setups on this one. Right now we're kind of moving sideways, and again, looking at this for the 4 hour for some clean levels. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do real quick? Hold on. I'm gonna do this. Say both. Shouldn't have. There we go. All right, so looking at the 4 hour. Honestly, in the 4 hour, probably the first thing that really screams out. I mean, yeah, there's this wick over wick right here, and you can see that it's been tested to the bottom side of it. Honestly, for me, this is the best little spot right here. This little kind of drop right there. I like the way that formed. That level is going to be up in the 154.33 to 145.71. So 145.38. Yeah, I'm sorry. 145.38 to 145.71 inside of that range on the pound yen would be the first area. And then again, I dropped down to a lower time frame and see if that one makes more sense. um, maybe, I don't know, Ernest. If I released it Friday, Ernest, would you be happy? What Ernest says with this one. I'm assuming you don't mean the trend state, Ernest, because you have that one. I'm assuming you mean the zones. No, you're not happy. Ernest, the keys are in my car, man. I don't know. My other car. The zone tool. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Don't worry. I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. Well, like I said, if you would have, oops, this was a nice little fancy one. I was looking at this earlier. I was like, oh, look at that. Let me draw it. And then we came up here and hit it. I was like, oh, there we go. And we were out. It's in my other car. All right, so that's what we have going for the pound yen right now. Pound CAD. Okay. Pound CAD is technically right now in a downtrend setup looking for zones. This one's pretty far away. Here's the gap. This one did not get triggered. This was a valid. Actually, it did get triggered based off of it going into here. Okay. Had you marked it higher, you would not have gotten triggered. So let me take this off. I'm going back so you can see it. But here's the actual zone. Okay. Here's the final gap candle. You can see we ended up going right into the top of it. Now, again, it was a downtrend setup. This was interesting. It was a downtrend setup that opened here, which is fine, pulled back up, and then kind of pushed away. So this was one of the winners for the gaps. You guys will see there's the gap entry right there. Let me use that. Remove that one. Going back so you guys can see. But there was your gap. Okay, you can see on this one, the risk on this one was rather small. You're looking at about 15 pips. And you can see we went all the way down and cranked down here 70 pips. Now remember, I only count the 3 to 1s. So this was a 42 pip winner. This one actually went much farther than that. I love CAD yen. I Barnes don't say nothing about the CAD yen no more. Yeah, I know, right? The trend one is throwing me off with IG. Anyway, so yeah, so there. So this was another one of the weekend gap trades. Again, if you don't know the strategy, it's pretty easy. Again, not a bad little kind of retracement to the downside. Heck is it? Uh, uh, all right, so Wes is back in. Wes is here. Wes is here, everybody. We can start now. We're ready. But again, so there was another one of the gap from this weekend. Yeah, so that was a good one. So where we are right now, let's see. I mean, as far as this one's going, this one is rather low on the curve. Okay, nothing in here screams. Again, it's a downtrend setup, but I don't really like anything that we have going in here. I just don't think there's any good zones besides the gap. So if you're going to play this one, where I would play this is probably back in that 170. I'd basically trade it in here. But even then, it's so far away. I don't know. It's about a 64. Let's see. It's a 65 pip run up to grab that zone. The daily ATR is 111, so it's about half. Wish there was a clearer signal on that, but there's. Come on, you can click. Available properties only show on the 30-minute. Yeah, I mean, even on the 4-hour, again, we're looking for a pullback area. The best one we have is right here at the gap. So unfortunately, that's all we got for this downtrend setup. As far as areas, again, we're not running into demand until down here. First target on this one is going to be down here at, what, 168.85, right? 168.85. That's not a bad zone. Okay, that is actually a retest off of this area. So actually, you know what? I would augment this a little bit. So what I would do is I would do it off of probably this area. This is kind of an entry. There. So you're looking for an entry, or basically, what, 168.70 is actually where I'd put this one if you're looking to get into this one to the downside, or looking for like a profit target on this one. Well, it gives us about 100 pips to the downside. This one has a lot. I mean, again, this is one of the ones with a bigger spread, so it's not ideal. CAD Singapore, for those of you guys that are on some of the other trades or on some of the other platforms, you guys can see this one is, again, downtrend setup situation. Demand isn't anywhere close on this one. Again, we're looking for a pullback area. The pullback area literally is up here on this one. Again, this is one of those ones that I would like it more. This was another, here, let's turn this off. We'll put it back farther. Here's the gap, okay? The gap strategy is to use the gap candle, right? You guys can see there's your 3 to 1. We just crushed it on this one. Only problem is from here down to here, the spread is 8. The spread right now is 3. During the day, it's typically 1 or 2. So that's the only problem with this one. It still works. It's just not the best way to trade it, unfortunately. All right. So again, downtrend setup, looking for something good on the 4-hour. Not a whole lot there. And again, really the first true clean entry is going to be probably up back in the area again. So a little bit too far of a runner on this one, so we're going to skip that one. Pound dollar is literally right here where we're sitting in an area of demand. Nice little pop. I'd actually adjust this area a bit. Let's pull these back. Here is probably where it actually put the zone before we're looking for anything. Again, large spike up. Again, ended up going through the zone by a little bit. All the way back down again. Grab this zone here. And again, I think that one was marked. No, that's actually still lower. But it looks like this is one of the ones that it missed. But again, that's why you got to, again, not just rely on the indicators. The indicators is nice as kind of a secondary look. But again, you always have to make sure that you're kind of going back, right? And looking, doing your own analysis. This one pulled down, pulled back up, right into here, came all the way back down, pulled right back up again, and now it's just consolidating. So it's not actually as exciting as it is. It's more like this on the daily. The 4 hour, got kind of this, right? We have a downtrend set up, but is there anything clean? Not really until here. Top side. I'd still use the gap. Now, this is one of those ones for the gap. You missed it. You guys can see this one never even triggered. Never even triggered. Didn't even get close. It got invalidated, unfortunately. And again, nothing exciting here. I don't see a lot of movement either way. As I said, we're uptrend confirmed. Nothing good. The 4 hour is really the best look. It's a downtrend setup, but you got demand right below it, so there's just not enough room to run in this pair. Looking at pound Aussie. Again, pound Aussie, kind of been all over the place. Again, there was a little bit of a trade if you were able to catch it earlier today in this one. It did pull up into a wick over wick. Again, rock and hard place. Again, we're sideways on the daily. The 4 hour, this is kind of what we have going on here. Kind of a similar situation. Nothing great. Neither of these pulled back into this area. This spent way too much time here for me. Didn't really like this one. And again, here's where your actual zone was. Let's see if it catches it. The other thing too about the indicator is you got to change. Different of the pairs have different settings. And again, this is not a zone that I would have used. This is where the zone was. And once it turned here, I would have invalidated it. So that's one of the things. So one of the adjustments, guys, just so you understand, I'll bring this in so you can see it. So there's two things in here. There's a zone multiplier and a gap multiplier. So this is what's telling us whether the signal is valid based off of a gap movement. And then the zone multiplier, it's the way, I'm not going to go into how we calculate it, but it's basically showing what type of move do we have off of the zone to determine whether it's a high quality zone or a less quality zone. And what I'm finding is each pair has kind of an individual setting. There's a base one that we have, which is a 3, but certain pairs that are a little bit more volatile or less volatile, they need to change the setting around. And that's kind of what the delay has been, is about getting the kind of the zone multiplier done correctly. All right. Everything else we're good with. It's just those are the one we're trying to get it as accurate as possible for you guys. All right. Put that. So that's kind of what the delay has been as far as the release on it. That's kind of where we're at. Like I said, not a lot of great zones. It's Monday. We'll see what unfolds. And then the Swiss. Check the Swiss out. So it pegged the top section here. Okay. It didn't peg the entire thing. So let's pull these back. Okay. There's where your piece was. You may or may not have gotten filled depending on the broker. It was literally came right after the top. But again, there was your 3-to-1. There was your other. I guess I don't actually need these. You guys can see we have those marked off. So again, it's debatable depending on what the spread was during that time. You may or may not have gotten filled. It went right back up to it, but you guys can see same thing. It dropped to the downside on pound Swiss. Now, pound Swiss, you may or may not have traded with all the drama. I was kind of watching it, saying, okay, listen, this thing is rallying up. I think it's going to bang off this zone, but again, it was in the first hour and a half. It was rather quick. Nice movement. We're in a downtrend setup right now, but unfortunately, it's kind of like, well, where are we going with it? Is there demand below where we are? Question is, yes, we are. And this is where I have a problem with this one, okay? We're going into this area, okay? Obviously, this is two very, very large spikes up. Here's your pullback. And this pullback on the daily is a little bit funky, and that's where we're entering right now for this downtrend setup, right? So looking at a 4 hour, whoops, nope, go the other way. And I'm going to go this way. Okay, looking back, this is what we're getting into. Okay, there was one gap, yes, but there's this piece here. We have this up, basing, and sideways. Then we have this. This is a very sharp drop and very sharp incline into this single piece. And then there's another piece right here. So there's a lot to the downside on this one. I'm kind of like, I think we can go a little bit lower. But the question is, how much lower can we go without kind of having some type of a reversal pattern? Interesting enough, look at this thing. This thing is just right through the roof. Kind of crazy on the 4 hour, but that was a while ago. Gotta love when you see things like that. So this is what we got on the 30-minute. Like I said, this was a trade up here too. I don't know if you guys can see this. You guys see where this one came back up? Right in here. And again, it was changing, but again, very, very clean entry, very, very strong movement off of there. Failed, came up, boom, and then boom, 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 boom. That one went quite far. Went farther than any of the targets I would have picked on it, but it went farther. So another example of it, found it here, and then again, found it here if you marked it off correctly. We have it set right now to do the body and the top of the wick. Sunday night gap strategy is the entire piece. Okay. So yeah, just another. So yeah, so right now again, I'm waiting for this one to kind of get a little bit of a little bit of oomph in front of it. Let's drop this one down to New Zealand. New Zealand CAD right now we're sitting inside of a downtrend setup. Really not a whole lot there to grab. You guys can see a lot of sideways movement, so just not worth discussing it at this point. Same thing with this one, downtrend setup. But what it's pulling back into right now, it's kind of like, is there a very, very clean area here? Not really. And I'm worried about this to the downside. Okay. We don't have a whole lot of movement to the downside. So again, for me, for this one, nothing for New Zealand dollar. New Zealand yen. Looks like we're approaching this top section here. And again, not the cleanest, but again, impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse. And that's what we're getting into right now, is this entire level of kind of stacking. And on the 30-minute, you can see we're kind of, we got the supply right above. So again, too much sideways movement, not true trending. We're not going to trade it. New Zealand Swiss, again, you guys can see we just bounced off this lower section here and is pushing back up. But we're in an area of supply, so kind of the same situation. Nothing great with New Zealand's today. Let me readjust that. And then last but not least, let's go over the dollar pairs. Okay, dollar yen. As we got in the dollar yen. Okay, saying we're in an uptrend setup. Again, looking at this one on the 4 hour, you can see there's just not a lot up here, right? It's like where. Hold on, let me get this out of the way. Doing this on all the 30 minutes, so we don't have to see it there. Kind of like, when's it going to stop, right? So here's the daily. Okay, the daily is showing us that we have an area of supply sitting at 110.34. So that's kind of where I'm looking for short positions. Right now we got about 30 pips before we need to get up there. So anything on the 4 hour, you're like, oh wait, there's nothing over here. Why am I not seeing anything? Well, because we have a little bit further to go. Okay, it's that upper zone and it's based off the daily. So I'm into this zone. When we get up to that area, I'm definitely looking to take some type of a short at 110.35. Okay, so that's what I have going on with the yen. The Swiss, you guys can see the Swiss kind of fake people out, came up, came all the way back down. It did not get stopped out and then kind of pushed back up, but it hasn't really left the area. Again, we're sitting in kind of just sideways. It was a downtrend setup, but nothing really clean, especially on a Monday, and it came from last week. So I kind of stay away from the Swiss today, the dollar Swiss. Obviously, it alerted us that there was a setup there, or there was a trade potential, but I didn't take it. There just wasn't enough there. I thought there was better opportunities out there, so did not look at that one. Here's the CAD position. Okay, here's the 30-minute. You can see that we had this area up top. Let me zoom in a little bit here for you. As you guys can see, we can push this back. I saw this level right here, and again, you could have taken it off this top level, but again, I was letting the indicator work. We had a failure to go higher with this green and this red candle here, so we used it. And as this came across, you guys can see that it actually triggered one bar here. You guys can see that it triggered, came down and hit our 3-to-1 risk reward ratio, came all the way back up. And again, perfect target in this one. 3-to-1 was absolutely perfect because again, that was where our normal target would have been sitting right here. 3-to-1 is right before we wanted to front run our kind of reversal zone for our perfect target. It did that and ended up hitting the correct target. The correct target, as you guys know, is supposed to be the initiation of the move, which is right there. You guys can see it. It hit it right here. Okay. and ended up going all the way back up again and triggered and kind of pushed back down. I don't know that I take it a second time, although it looks like it is working out pretty well right now for a second trade. So a little bit of movement in the CAD today with this position. There was something small in this one. Again, I'm looking for higher levels of demand, and again, this is one of them right here. This is very, very clean. Touched here, didn't even make it here. So again, a zone we definitely need to respect if you guys don't have it marked off, 130.27. Okay, so definitely keep your eye on that one to the downside. Besides that, again, on the daily, you guys can see we're pulling back. Hold on. Make sure that I mark this off. I think anyone I draw going forward now will be good. Silly one. Okay, so the area we are pulling into an area here and a wick over wick here, and you guys can see here, here is the wick over wick. That's what it just happened to hit. Bam. So even the dollar CAD works sometimes, right? And again, push back down again. I think that one actually made it over 3-1. I didn't trade this one, but again, quick trade. So again, did the indicator pick this one up? No. We are having problems with the finding wick over wicks. Okay. We do have an indicator for it, but it's not picking up a lot of them. It probably would have actually grabbed this one, but wick over wicks are still a little bit hard for us to grab. We're trying though. We're really, really trying. But again, that one did have a little bit of a setup where we are right now. It's downtrend setup. Again, not the best little area on the, and again, that's downtrend setup on the daily and the weekly. On the 4-hour, you can see it's just flat. No trend, no trade. Okay. And then dollar Singapore, you guys can see on this one. Again, this one kind of pulled up. There was one little trade set up here. All this is other trades from, I think, 4 hours. Yeah, there are 4-hour zones that I had drawn. One 4-hour zone here, which I think that was from last week. But anyway, it's only marking off something up top. So I'll clean this one up a little bit, get these out of here so we can get other stuff. All right, so that's kind of where we're standing right now on the 4-hour. Really nothing. We're kind of wedged in between, even on the 30-minute right now. You guys can see we're kind of wedged, right? That was actually, this was a test of this zone. So nothing great. All right. So that's it, guys. A lot of pairs tonight, right? Went through a lot more. It's 10:36. We're about 15 minutes after we normally go, and I didn't even kind of go on many tangents tonight. So lots of stuff, right? So a lot more charts. Like I said, is what we'll probably do is we'll continue to make further revisions with this. But because Ernest asked, guys, we'll see if we can get the final adjustments made, and maybe if I have a chance, maybe we'll try to get this released by Friday or on Friday, so you guys can play with it over the weekend and test it out and make sure all your settings are correct for it. All right. All right, guys, with that being said, let's go across the stream elements. I will pull this up so you guys can see it. We have 9 entrants into the giveaway tonight. I will give you guys about another, I'll give you guys about another 30 seconds. 133 or 134.30, I am going to hit the stop button, and we'll go from there. I need like music, right? I need some type of music to, do like the countdown. Ernest is like, yes! Yeah, it's good. It's good. Like I said, you're seeing that it's coming up a lot. It's just getting the adjustments set correctly for it. And it's probably going to take further tweaking, and you may find things that work best for you. All right. All right. 10 seconds more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and boom. Look at that. Right on the 30. Nailed it. Oh, look at that. Sean trying to just sneak it in there. Man, trying to sneak it in there. I can't even turn it back on. That's the worst part. It's all right. It happened to who else did it happen to? It happened to Wealth Builder last week. All right, winner is Vonessa. Vonessa. Mark that one as complete. Let's see. She is climbing the ranks. All right. 25 pip chips for her. You're good. All right. You have to give me a minute. As soon as I said 30 seconds, I was closed. Yeah, it's like, come on, man. As soon as I start wrapping it up, you should know. I give you that extra time just in case 2020 still fixed. I don't know, man. Vanessa sends me a gift, and all of a sudden she's winning things. I don't know. I don't know how it works. All right, guys. With that being said, it is later than normal. I am out of here. I will catch you guys tomorrow. We'll go from there. Take care, guys.